And I am here with my man, Jason. What up, Jason?
Hello, Jim. How the heck are you today?
Lovely. We're going to be solving mysteries here with Avengers, Inc., a weird book. Very odd.
It is, yeah. The premise, the first issue had some interesting ideas in it, and I think we're starting to see what this book is going to be like, and maybe I like the first issue better.
Who is it for? I just don't get it. It's weird. And even I'm saying overall for a set of people, but then this individual issue, I don't know if anybody's an espionage elite fan out there. They might really get this to tickle their fancy, but I'm telling you, it's so ridiculous. Oh my goodness. It's written by Al Ewing, art by Leonard Kirk, colors by Alex Sinclair, letters by VC's Corey Petit. And yeah, you end up having Wasp, Janet Van Dyne, and she is starting this crazy detective agency with Vic shit. It's the craziest setup. I mean, even the idea of me saying, listen to this, the Wasp's old nemesis Whirlwind, he died, but then the old spirit of Victor Shade kind of inhabited him, but now they're solving mysteries. I'm like, it isn't even a great idea to get people involved. It's interesting. It's weird,
a weird idea,
right?
Because Victor Shade, of course, is I just realized I'm getting confused with the question. What is the question's name?
Vic Sage.
Sage. Oh, I'm getting my sages and shades. Oh, I'm like, this is Victor. I'm going to say it wrong at least half the time in this podcast. So get the ding sound ready. Yeah, because this Victor Shade used to be a name used by the Vision when he was trying to be a real boy.
So imagine that, the idea of a villain who's one of the Wasp's big nemesis, big villain, he dies. He's now inhabited by what then becomes the persona, but not really of the original Vision's persona.
Some other villains died too, and then they came back to life. They all had these kind of diamond-shaped holes in their forehead, very vision-y. They came back to life, and the others were all like, well, that was weird. We're alive now. Why are we in the morgue? But this one guy is like, I'm Victor Shade now. And no one seems to ask him, wait, what exactly do you remember? Do you remember like being a child named Victor Shade? No one has like questioned him on his whole deal. They said, okay, I guess you're going to hang around with me now, Victor, and you're still a bad guy. So you've got like a thing on your leg that means you can't get too far away from the Wasp. And we're going to solve mysteries while we wait to figure out what the hell's up with your big mystery. And that's like the overarching mystery of this allegedly ongoing series, which is not going to go more than 12 issues. But
yeah, me and you both thought it was a mini.
I had to Google to figure out how I was going to say, like, how many issues is this? Because we try to figure out where are we in the overall story. Is it 4 issues and we're halfway? Is it a 12-issue maxi and we're just getting started? But when I looked it up, Marvel.com says, no, this is an ongoing.
And it's coming out of 2 miniseries by Al Ewing, the Ant-Man and then the Wasp specifically there. And even so, this overall deal, they even say in the recap at the end, unbeknownst to the Wasp, her ex-husband, Henry Pym, working with the Black Cat, has a hand in these sterling events,
right.
Which we saw a bit in the first issue.
In the first issue was, Henry Pym was part of these bad guys getting the thing in their head, but then he changed his mind and tried to undo it. And I don't know if he knows that this guy is still running around with another personality in him. I'm not quite sure. Because we don't see Hank Pym this issue. That's what I was waiting for, was, let's get some more information about what Hank Pym's up to. Because him just being alive is a big reveal. As far as we knew, he was dead. So that's what everyone who's actually into this book wants to know, and that's what Al Ewing is not interested in telling.
And it's weird, because when you start this whole issue out, and you end up having Avengers Mansion that's been converted into a bed and breakfast. Like, I keep thinking that
it's a theme hotel like that Star Wars one that lost Disney all those millions of dollars.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I heard that was a bit of a bomb. But even then, you end up having this guy, and it's like, Roger Phillips, you must die. And it looks like the Grim Reaper coming to attack.
It's a Shinigami, Jim.
It is. And I'm like, oh my God.
We were just talking Death Note, and this is another book all about a Shinigami.
And so I see this, and you just have to think that, oh my God, this must be something Hank Pym's going. Like, why is he mad because he wants to take back Avengers? Man, but it's nothing of that. It doesn't really deal with that.
It also makes me think of the Tom King Vision book. Because in that, it was, I forget what the name of the actual bad guy was, but it's somebody who looks like the Grim Reaper. I think it was actually called the Grim Reaper, now that I think about it. And Vision's wife killed that guy. And that was like the inciting incident of the whole maxi series.
Yeah, so when you're when you're going through this, you think that this setup, like, oh my God, like you're thinking of the big picture. You're thinking of, okay, well, we saw Hank at there, this with Blank Ant, whatever, but what is he doing? Why is this? But by the end of this issue, you're pretty much told, no, this is just a Scooby-Doo adventure that we had here and we're moving on. I'm like, all right, that's very odd, but okay, you do get the Vision involved because this guy gets killed. And then you end up where...
We know this guy's up to no good, right? He's got he's working with a team. They're trying to do something that's not so great. And before he can do that, this Shinigami calls him Roger Phillips. And at this point, I should have stopped and Googled, but I didn't. I pressed on. And you must die, and then he kills him.
I'll tell you, that's the crazy thing. I'm reading this, and you end up having Roger say, What? I can't say it out loud? You built this phone, herder. You built all the phones. That's the biggest part of evidence. Like, really, that's the big clue. I looked up herder, saw it was the tech guy in the espionage elite, but never thought anything of it. I'm telling you, either I'm a dummy or I'm just like, okay, I still thought it was something that was going to tie back to Hank Pym, that he's going after the espionage elite because they're at the old, mansion. But it didn't come out that way. I'm telling you, I thought it was such a bigger thing that I didn't look into crap. But you end up where you do have, Vic Shady's there having some bed and breakfast tea with Wasp, and you have this Jimmy Olsen looking guy who's running the whole...
Yeah, he's like Jimmy Olsen crossed with Arcade.
Yeah, that's what he looks like. He does look the Arcade hair, definitely, like there, and even sure. the whole play with Jimmy the freckles too. And so you have that combo, and he says, "Hey, everybody, I know that you're here to have some fun or whatnot. The elevators, they're broken. We can't use them." And then people are like, well, what about our valuables? What's going on? We'll figure this out. We'll go and do this. And then you just end up the elevator. Well, first off, Vision shows up and he starts just yelling at Vic Shade. Why do you have my name?
My name.
Yeah, it's crazy.
But again, no one asks this new guy, like, what actually is your deal? Lay it out in front of us. Tell us your story. What's the deal?
And so they're playing the idea, everybody keeps saying to Janet, I think this guy's duping you. It must be a trick. She kind of knows it as well, but she's playing along to see how this works out. And then Vision comes. He does end up kind of going mind probing a bit of that, but doesn't. And then all of a sudden they open up the elevator and this Roger falls out. He's dead. And everybody's like, oh my God, oh my God. So everybody's freaking out at this point. And then Jimmy Olsen Arcade.
The super big clue is that there's one guy who doesn't freak out. It's an old guy looking at his phone. I figured he's just having a flame war on Twitter, probably with you. But it turns out that was the big clue. Oh, he wasn't surprised at the dead guy because he knew there was going to be a dead guy because he's the killer.
And I see him there. I thought it was Fox from the Black Cat book. No, it wasn't a great twist. He looks just like him. And he's like, okay. And while that's going on, Jimmy Olsen Arcade, he freaks out. He starts running. And that's where then we get another Grim Reaper come in and say, Farley, London. The weird play of this that I don't think it works out very well is that we don't really know these guys, even him in this persona of, hey, I'm going to take a round. Janet recognizes the name, which then allows her to realize after he gets killed, because something is going on where this thing can phase and get hard.
Detective deduction is that she knows their names. Yeah, she read the wiki more than I did, so that's how she's the great detective.
And so they're trying to figure out, points for a second that this could be a Vision thing, because you end up, these people are dying because somebody's phasing and then hardening up to end up, blowing their heart out and thinks, yeah, really, it's sexy. But even then, it's like things happen. And that's the problem I have with this issue, is that things happen and are solved before I even know that they happened. I'm sitting there. I'm so far behind when they get to the point of, oh, I heard that name. That's number 5. That's number 3. I'm like, I need a number 2. But you end up where all this going down, they're yelling, oh my God, pull off his face like it's Mission Impossible. By then, I think both of us has looked up things, right? We started looking up things, right?
And Janet starts to talk about doing CPR, but then that whole idea is dropped. So I don't know if this guy actually dies or not. I can't tell.
And that's the weird play, is they say that Roger Phillips, who comes out of the elevator, he's been dead too long. The Vision kind of goes with the deal, and he's there. Yeah, he's been dead. There's no, and they say, weird play of, there's no reason to try to resuscitate. He's been dead an hour. This guy, Janet, does say start compressing and then just ditches it. And then me and you both look this up. So when I end up, I'm looking, okay, this is, And then immediately the next page, the two other characters that I just read on this wiki, they just show up in this. I'm like, what is going on
Just to
here?
bring everyone in on this, the Espionage Elite, they're run by the boss as Spy Master. And they were created in 1971. They've been in 8 total books ever. And like half of those are just flashbacks.
This is a deep dive, right?
They were in a 3-issue arc in Iron Man 33 through 35. And then like a couple of cameos and then flashbacks. Last time they appeared in anything was in the year 2000, which is now 23 years ago, Jim. Got to break it to you. In a flashback in something called Iron Man Bad Blood, which is not a Rob Liefeld book, which you'd think it might be.
No, it sounds like it would be. It really
David
does.
Michelini in a flashback. So like not even in the real present there, only in a flashback. And since then, has not been seen on panel.
So when we do these reviews and you end up, and we know we're going to talk about it, and I do the thing, you're doing your due diligence, you look up things, and you're expecting at one point, like, not that you are clever for looking up a Wikipedia entry of this, but in the way you try to go that next step of, okay,
where's the connection?
Where's the connection to Janet? Like, I'm looking, that's all I'm doing the whole time. I'm looking for that one story that they did something with either Hank, Janet, Vision, anybody, and it's not there. I'm like, what is happening? Then
so why did Al Ewing pick this team? We know Al Ewing knows his Marvel history. I mean, over in the Weird Dose of X, which I'm sure everyone out there is listening to, this last week, I gave an Al Ewing book a 9 out of 10, X-Men Red. It was really good. And it features some older characters like the Prince of Power and like Blackjack O'Hare, but in an okay kind of way, where this seems like he went to the Marvel Wiki, hit the randomizer button and said, okay,
and I'm glad you set up exactly what I was going to say, because I do think that Al Ewing knows a lot. I do think that he likes to tie these things in. But when I looked up the wiki and I see, Sam here, it says Sam, X, a strongman circus. It says exactly what they end up saying in this issue. Like, it doesn't go any further.
Yeah, it does look like he copy-pasted right from the wiki. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it does. When you're reading it, and then you go back, because I see, oh, Sam, and then right away I'm like, oh, that has to be, Mara. And it is. And she's from Red Room. It's just, everything is but it's so weird. You're playing up a mystery for characters that were barely in any sort of issues, and they were 20-some years ago. Who is playing along with this? It's such a weird play, and I don't know why or how we get it, because by this point, Janet ends up being the detective in the room that is pretty much just going to end up saying, aha, I got it, this eureka moment, because one of the plays, like you said, is we find out that the guy who really is the bad guy, Gottfried Herder, number 4, he was on his phone. And it's a weird play. Even when I say, I'm like, Gottfried Herder, number 4, on phone. That's the whole play deal, because he wasn't surprised. So they grab him, and then he just pretty much Scooby-Doo's, oh, you got me, you meddling kids.
It's the dog that didn't bark. That's the clue. One clue. And yeah, so it turns out that he wanted to keep it's a stupid plan. They were going to break in, go on the tour, and because one of their own was playing the tour guide, he could let some people sneak away and not be noticed. I mean, other people would have noticed. And it's Avengers Mansion. You'd think they'd have some cameras.
You would think.
But they don't. So this electronics guy and the gymnast sneak through and get into the computer room, and they kind of do the steal the half cents thing.
That's
but they're going to divert all the money.
It's Office Space. It's 100%. That's
they're going to divert the money.
They divert it all.
By accident, just like Office Space, but they did it on purpose. They're going to divert the money into his own account, like by name, which, again, you're going to get caught, sir. And it's supposed to be shared between them, but he doesn't want to share it because he thinks he's the smart guy. He doesn't want to share it with like a gymnast and an acrobat. Like, screw you guys. I'm keeping it all. So while he's in the computers, he reprograms the training program, basically the danger room, right? So it's a hard light hologram danger room. He reprograms to go and kill his teammates, but his mistake was telling this hologram Shinigami their real names, so it says the real names out loud, and Janet hears them. That's it.
He, instead of taking the half cent off the deal, he takes it all. Ridiculous. And he sends it to his own account. Ridiculous. Like, if they didn't catch them now, they were certainly going to catch them in a little boat. Yeah. I mean, the idea where all of a sudden the electric's out because it's, the money's not going. That's all this money was. I thought it was going to be one of those where it was sent all around. Like, oh, the Avengers, they're nice. So they have 7 million different charities. So you could maybe, hey, we'll grab it from this, we'll grab it from that. Nobody will know. But the idea, this guy's like so over the top, and he's just mad because he wanted the money and he doesn't take a circus strongman.
It's the reverse of what happened with the Stromwinds in Daredevil. And there, they took the money from the rich people and gave it to charity. And here it's the opposite. That's it.
Yeah, and then he made this thing. Like, where is the alarms going when this guy ends up using the danger room of the event? Like, it's so ridiculous. And then he's just like, you got me. And then the big play was Vic Shade, Whirlwind Vic Shade. He went a little bit away from Janet, so his ankle bracelet activated. So the authorities are right there, but they're there to take in now the bad guys.
But Janet already has a phone. She could have just called the cops. She's an Avenger. She's got some little thing to push in her earring that call, I don't know.
Yeah, and they show up, and then she has to apologize to Luke. Luke's like, well, you got to do this. She's like, it won't happen again.
We do get a little bit of actually semi-interesting information about the big picture, right? Because the big picture is we don't care about the espionage elite. We want to know what the hell is up with this guy who thinks he's Vic Shade.
Shade. I think I said Sage earlier as well. It's going to be Vic Shade. Yeah,
we'll fix
because
it
that is the play.
Yeah, so what happens is Vision gives him a scan, and the only thing he finds is something under in your forehead. There's a bit there that I can't see through. It's the Superman, the part of the city that has the lead line. They can't see through that thing again. But he says, yeah, the only person who could have done something like that, who would know my scanning abilities so well, would be Hank Pym. But it can't be him because he's dead. And then he loses all interest. He doesn't follow up. He just says, oh, well, I wonder what that's about. Off I go.
Yeah. So he says, Henry Pym has been dead for years. We had a lot of mysteries to solve yet, and then flies away. Like, where are you going? And then we get meanwhile, and now we're going to go to Asgard to figure out, a crazy deal
that's
here.
The
and
next mystery.
Yeah, I'm like, what's that? Like, is this
all
this is?
It is funny seeing a chalk outline with a battle axe through it, because I can't imagine really in Asgard they do the chalk outline thing.
It's so weird. And yeah, we'll have to see. It might be, maybe this will be after a couple issues, we'll just have fun with it. Like, okay, but now, because after that first issue, I expected something a lot bigger, a lot more meaningful, and that wasn't this. And it was weird, but I still wonder who this is for. I wonder who is going to be buying this. It's weird.
The next victim is going to be Scourge, an executioner from Asgard, who apparently was already dead.
He was already dead. That's the big play. That's the best thing, is how do you find who killed a god who was already dead? That's kind of interesting. Jane Foster is going to get a hold of Auschwitz, says, yeah, Broomhilda. Like, all these things here might be fun. And maybe this is one of those books that Al Ewing's going to have some fun.
Little tour of the Marvel Universe. You can go anywhere with this topic.
When me and you both were looking up to see if it was an ongoing or a mini, I read multiple articles that really stressed there's going to be a ton of guest stars. It ended up Al Ewing. That's what he's promising in this. There's going to be guest star after guest star after guest star. That's what it seems to be.
The first issue was to set everything up, but from now on, every issue is going to be one self-contained mystery. I'm pretty sure it'll be one issue, one and dones, and maybe we get a little crumb of what the heck is up with Victor Shade.
Shade. We're going to have to remember that. What would you give this?
Well, we haven't talked about the art, and there's not a lot to say about the art.
It's okay.
It's fine. I mean, we're looking at the preview copies, so maybe it looks better in the finished version. But there's nothing. It's not like some of the other books, like even like the Wasp book or that Ant-Man book. It was like really detailed and like unusual, a different spin on the way things look. This is just, completely fine, straightforward Marvel art. So it does the job. And the story is just kind of dumb. So I think I got to go 5.8 out of 10. It's not a good book.
I was
at 6. I talked myself down.